Welcome to today's Explainer. We are jumping right into the Empower 180 Talent Matrix today, and we've got a super targeted mission. We're going to focus entirely on how to navigate underperformance objectively, using a very specific piece of this model. I know, right? It's a topic that literally gives leaders heartburn. But I promise, by the time we wrap up here, you'll see exactly how to handle it with absolute clarity, fairness, and strategic discipline. So, let's get to it.
Look, I want to start with this somewhat provocative question. Who requires urgent performance intervention on your team right now? Really think about it for a second. Because, well, far too often managers just struggle with these vague assumptions. They rely on this gut feeling that someone is struggling, rather than leaning on hard evidence. They know there's a problem, but they don't quite know how to classify it objectively. And you know what that leads to? Delayed decisions, unfair evaluations. We are going to completely fix that today.
All right, here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll quickly ground ourselves in the Empower 180 framework. Second, we dive inside Coach and Manage. Third, identifying the actual evidence. And finally, the exact leadership actions you need to take.
Okay, Section 1, the Empower 180 framework. Let's look at the big picture.
To really wrap our heads around our focus area today, we first have to understand how modern, smart organizations stop judging talent by, popularity contests and instead use evidence to create a shared language. The foundation of this whole model rests on two massive dimensions: performance and potential. Performance is all about how well an employee delivers right now in their current role. We're talking results, consistency, quality of work, accountability, the day-to-day stuff. Potential, on the flip side, measures future growth capacity. Think learning agility, adaptability, readiness for way more responsibility. And here's the absolute game changer. By crossing these two dimensions, organizations avoid one of the most classic mistakes in the book. They avoid promoting those top performers who are totally crushing their current job, but honestly, just aren't ready for future complexity. And when you put those dimensions together, you get this, the Empower 180 model. It's a 6-box setup that maps out your talent, and it actually respects real-world workplace dynamics. It isolates new folks into new support, honors your rock-solid experts in the master box, and heavily protects your top potential stars. That's the geographical layout of the land. Now, we are going to aggressively zoom in on that bottom left risk quadrant.
Which brings us to Section 2, Inside Coach and Manage.
This is the exact spot where the framework takes an incredibly uncomfortable talent conversation and turns it into a disciplined action plan. So what is our working definition here? Coach and Manage is a classification for employees whose performance is objectively below the required standard over a measured period and they carry risk or unclear readiness. Now, the absolute most critical phrase there is measured period. Putting someone in this box means their performance status can't just float out there in the ether anymore. It requires direct, immediate, urgent accountability. It's stepping up and saying, hey, a real gap exists here, and we have to address it right now. And we really need to draw a sharp line in the sand right here, because there's a huge leadership trap we want to avoid. The model completely separates coach from coach and manage. If an employee is in the coach bucket, look, they're delivering good, acceptable performance. They just need a bit more capability or confidence before taking the next step. But coach and manage, that means performance is definitively below standard. As leaders, we have got to stop confusing long-term, feel-good capability building with urgent, rigorous performance management. They are two totally different ballgames.
Let's move on to Section 3, identifying the evidence, because we need to know exactly what lands someone in this quadrant.
So how does someone actually end up here? It is definitely not a guess. We're looking for cold, hard, documented underperformance. This literally strips all the emotion right out of the equation. We're talking repeatedly missing targets, making the same mistakes over and over, showing really low accountability, and a huge red flag, zero improvement even after you've given them clear feedback. At the end of the day, this person is creating a very real risk for service, or quality, or team morale, or operational discipline. That documented gap is what puts them in this space.
This quote perfectly captures the philosophical why behind this whole approach. Why do we put people in this specific box? Because an organization has an absolute duty to protect its standards and protect its high-performing teams. You can't let that slide. But, and this is a big but, at the exact same time, you have to give that struggling employee a genuinely fair, highly structured opportunity to turn things around. It's this incredible balancing act between strict organizational discipline and total fairness.
I can't stress this enough. Your calibration discipline is everything. The entire quality of this matrix falls apart if the evidence is weak. We have to avoid at all costs placing people based on mood or personal loyalty or just whatever happened last week or some isolated event. It's got to be observable evidence. We evaluate based on actual results against agreed-upon objectives, real quality indicators, and concrete stakeholder feedback. No gut feelings allowed, just the facts.
All right, Section 4. Let's pick up the pace and talk about the required leadership actions.
Because, let's be real, identifying the problem is only half the battle, right? Resolving it is what actually tests your leadership. The source material hits the nail on the head here. Talent classification must lead to the right leadership action. The Empower 180 Matrix isn't just some HR performance tool, it's a leadership tool. It's not about slapping a static label on somebody's forehead and walking away. No way. It is a highly practical, action-oriented system that tells you exactly what you need to do next.
And for the coach and manage folks, this step-by-step playbook is precisely what you execute. Step 1, set standards. Zero ambiguity here. Step 2, document the specific gaps and the support you're actually providing. Step 3, follow up closely. This is absolutely not a set it and forget it situation. And step 4, make a timely decision. Executing these 4 steps, that is how you fix underperformance fairly and effectively.
To make those steps happen, you've got to bring these specific interventions to the table. You need crystal clear expectations and incredibly direct feedback. None of the fluff. You must do documented coaching. And yeah, if necessary, bring in a formal performance improvement plan. And the whole shebang has to be anchored by time-bound decision-making. You are essentially building a bridge for this person. You're handing them every tool they need to succeed, but you are also holding their feet to the fire on the timeline.
So, what does that timeline actually look like in the real world? Well, Coach and Manage demands a really structured, urgent rhythm. This isn't something you just casually review at the end of the quarter. No, this needs weekly or bi-weekly attention. Week 1 is all about establishing the baseline and documenting it. Weeks 2 and 3, that's your active support and rigorous follow-up. And by week 4 and beyond, you are actively moving toward a definitive, timely decision to resolve the situation once and for all.
I really want to hit this point home. This matrix is an action system. It is not a permanent tattoo on someone's career. The golden rule here is that employees can, and frankly should, move from one box to another the second the evidence changes. Coach and Manage is just a temporary waiting room. Its entire purpose is to force a breakthrough. Either their performance improves and they move up, or it forces a separation because the standards just can't be met. The goal always is movement.
And we're going to wrap up with this thought for you to chew on. Are you relying on hope to fix underperformance on your team? Or are you ready to finally use evidence-based discipline to protect your standards? Because let's face it, hope is a terrible management strategy. The Empower 180 Matrix gives you the exact framework to see talent clearly, to support your people fairly, and to make those really tough decisions with absolute confidence. I challenge you to take this structured, evidence-based approach back to your own teams, starting literally today. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.